Travelers, this is the Baseball Time Machine. The American League was founded in 1901 with 8 teams, most of which stood the test of time, with some relocating and rebranding, but one team of the original 8 has quite the unique path. The Athletics have experienced success over their many years, but their history is far more nomadic and dramatic than any other. How so? Let's step into the portal and find out. Our journey begins in 1901 with the founding of the American League and the Athletics. Owned by Ben Scheib and former player Connie Mack, the A's began their days in Philadelphia. Playing their home games at Columbia Park, they experienced success right off the bat, winning the AL pennant in 1902, 1 year before the first World Series. Connie Mack, also the manager, had a great eye for talent, playing the likes of Rube Waddle and Eddie Plank during the early days of the ball club. They managed to win another pennant in 1905, continuing to grow as a franchise. They moved into Scheib Park in 1909, a cathedral that set a beauty and construction standard for stadiums across baseball. A dynasty formed not long after. The Philadelphia Athletics won the World Series in 1910, 1911, and 1913, and were quickly dubbed Philadelphia's most successful sports franchise. Following another pennant win in 1914, the A's first dynasty was dismantled. This is a running theme you'll notice throughout their story. Rising salaries in the Federal League and suspicions from Mack that his boys had quit on him during the Fall Classic, in which they were swept by the Boston Braves, who were heavy underdogs, led to their destruction. It was a swift fall from grace, going from 99 wins and a pennant in 1914 to 43 wins and a dead last finish in 1915. Like all ball clubs, their time came around again, this time at the turn of the 1930s. Led by big stars like Jimmy Fox, Lefty Grove, and Al Simmons, the White Elephants celebrated a three-peat of pennants, highlighted by 2 World Series titles in 1929 and 1930. The Athletics had returned to the top of the sports world, but once again, they took apart their star-studded squad. 2 investors pulled out, and now in the midst of the Great Depression, the franchise had fallen on hard times financially. 1931 was a 107-win season that featured another AL pennant, but by 1934, they were back well below 500 and out of contention. Money had always been a concern for the Mack and Scheib families. They lived comfortably, but didn't have the vast incomes of other owners who had business ventures outside of baseball. The next decade plus of athletics baseball was uninspiring, with the team stuck below 500 until 1947. By this point, Connie Mack had acquired majority ownership, but age was catching up to him, as were the realities of the game. Lack of sufficient funds and the absence of a full minor league system were impacting the success and growth of the team. That, along with the growing popularity of the National League's Philadelphia Phillies, contributed to more and more empty seats at Scheib Park. The Mack family assumed a large debt, one that unfortunately led to the sale of the club in 1954. Connie Mack spent 50 years as the Athletics owner and manager, all to see it leave the family a few years later. The A's finished their time in Philly with a dead last finish, going out the complete opposite of how they entered the American League. In their 54 years in the city of brotherly love, the A's won 9 pennants, 5 World Series titles, played 5 MVP winners, and 18 Hall of Famers. The rich history that had been built was about to be completely altered. Several local efforts were made to purchase the team and make sure they stayed in Philadelphia, but all were rejected by the league. The winning bid came from Arnold Johnson, a Chicago businessman. He already had baseball ties, being business partners with Yankees co-owners Del Webb and Dan Topping. He cut a deal with them, buying the stadium of their top minor league club, the Kansas City Blues. He followed that by doing business with Kansas City, getting them to buy Blues Stadium, pay for upgrades, and provide financial incentives that would guarantee initial profit if he bought the A's and moved them to KC. So that's what he did, under the agreement that he'd divest himself from the Yankees. Only the second American League team to relocate, the Athletics turned over a new leaf in the Midwest. Although the on-field product had yet to improve, the first season in Kansas City was a promising one, with season attendance reaching almost 1.4 million, night and day compared to their final season in Philly. There was a mild optimism about the A's future, but that would quickly dissipate. They continued to finish near the bottom of the league, and it didn't feel like Johnson's ownership was taking them anywhere. In fact, there seemed to be some shady business going on. As mentioned, Johnson was business partners with the Yankees owners. Although he had to cut that off upon buying the A's, it appeared that there was still a connection. From 1955 to 1959, the Yankees and Athletics made 16 trades involving 61 players. For reference, they only made 2 trades with each other over the A's last 5 years in Philadelphia. The deals Johnson and company were making were often lopsided in the Yankees' favor, helping them continue their run of dominance from the 50s into the 60s. The 1961 World Series champion Bronx Bombers had 10 former A's on their team, including third baseman Clete Boyer, starting pitcher Ralph Terry, and outfielder Roger Maris, who slugged a record 61 homers and celebrated his second straight MVP award that year. Owners and fans caught on and were infuriated by Johnson's running of the glorified farm club that was the Kansas City Athletics. Johnson protested that he was committed to building a winner in KC, but there was really no proof of that. Many speculated that Johnson had no real interest in staying there long term, and just wanted to profit from the city before moving to a more lucrative market. This may have been his strategy, but we'd never know for sure. Arnold Johnson died suddenly in 1960 at age 53, leaving the future of the franchise a mystery. The team went back up for sale, with no guarantee that they would stay in Kansas City. A group of civic leaders in KC came together to make an offer, but they struggled to raise funds, and were outbid by Charles O. Finley, another Chicago businessman who had been trying to buy a team for years. He arrived in Kansas City with what seemed to be a commitment to keeping the team there, but that would quickly fade. Finley was drama personified, arguing with city officials over stadium improvements, fighting with local press, and bickering with his GM and manager before firing them both during the season. The team's lease with Municipal Stadium was set to expire at the end of 1963, and Finley spent his time threatening the city with talks to officials in Dallas and elsewhere rather than focusing on a floundering team. The A's were awful in 1963, going 61-100, near the bottom of the AL once again. At this point, Finley threatened to move the team if the city didn't build him a better stadium. City officials wouldn't do that unless Finley made a firm commitment to staying in Kansas City. With pressure from AL owners, Finley renewed his lease before the 1964 season. He may have made little effort to improve the team's play, but Charles O. Finley did alter their look. Out were the classic road gray and home white uniforms. In were his favorite colors, green and gold, which would in time become iconic looks for the ball club. One thing Finley's A's thrived in was building a minor league system. Their famous early 70s dynasty was a product of strong scouting and player development. The 1966 team was young but promising, and produced their best record in Kansas City, still 12 games below 500. They regressed again the following year as the stadium's lease expiration loomed. Despite plans in place to build what is now Arrowhead and Kauffman stadiums, Finley still wouldn't commit to sticking around. Come September 1967, Finley told the city that he would not be renewing the lease. 1 month later, he announced his plan to move the team to Oakland, California. At this point, everyone was tired of Finley and his games. The American League owners approved the move and sped up the impending expansion plans, announcing that Kansas City would be awarded a new team that would begin play in 1969. We know them as the Royals. The Athletics spent 13 drama-filled seasons in KC, finishing below 500 every time, never higher than 6th in the AL. They developed talent there that would pay dividends out west, such as Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson, and Bert Campaneris. But overall, the Kansas City era of athletics baseball is one looked upon with disappointment. Charles O. Finley and the now Oakland Athletics were able to find stability in the growing Bay Area. Playing their first season there in 1968, the farm system built while in Kansas City was able to shine in the big leagues in Oaktown. They finally shed their losing image with an AL West title in 1971, and formed a dynasty from there. Led by bona fide superstars Catfish, Reggie, Raleigh, Vida, and more, the Athletics pulled off a three-peat, winning World Series titles in 1972, 73, and 74. The green and gold quickly became an icon of the 70s. Finley was a very innovative owner, and team success put him in a more positive light, but that light would quickly burn out. While Connie Mack couldn't pay his players back in the day, Charles O. Finley wouldn't. His winning ball players had high salary demands that were somewhat justified considering they'd just won 3 championships in a row, a rare and impressive feat. The fire sale began as soon as the 1974 offseason, immediately following their 3rd title. Catfish Hunter left in free agency to the Yankees. Over the next couple years, the rest of Oakland's stars would follow, either traded away or signing elsewhere in free agency. By 1977, the A's were back to being a last-place ball club. At this point, it was clear that Finley's winning days were over. He sold the team to Levi Jeans president Walter Haas, bringing in a new era of athletics baseball. Unlike the previous 2 owners, Haas was willing to spend the time and money developing a strong team. They built little by little, and by the late 80s were a force to be reckoned with. Led by Bash brothers Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco, and the greatest base runner alive, Rickey Henderson, the Oakland A's returned to prominence. They won 3 straight American League pennants, including a sweep of their Bay Area rivals in the 1989 World Series. For the first time in 15 years, the green and gold were champions. In 1991, Rickey Henderson reached the stolen base mountaintop, passing Lou Brock for the most swiped bags in MLB history. But that would be one of the last highlights, as the team declined not long after. They went from first to worst in the American League, losing the likes of Canseco and Stewart. Uninspiring baseball was played from there, with changes made along the way. Walter Haas passed away in 1995, and the following ownership groups continued the classic A's way of cycling through talent. And that's really been the story from then up to the present day. The Oakland Athletics will develop great talent, be unable to refuse to pay them, and then ship them off or let them walk to whichever contender is interested. The Moneyball era made for a good story, but no real success came out of it. 4 consecutive ALDS exits aren't typically reason for praise. It's easy to be romantic about baseball, but athletics fans deserve better. Their windows are easy to spot, as is the moment they give up on contending. Come 2024, the Oakland Athletics are in the final year of their lease at the Coliseum, and ownership has them set to leave the city they claim to be rooted in. For the third time in history, the A's are on the move. In May 2023, the Athletics announced plans to build a 30,000-seat stadium in Las Vegas, at the site of the famous Tropicana Hotel. 6 months later, Major League Baseball approved the franchise's relocation in Las Vegas, but there's still so much up in the air. Financing for the stadium is yet to be approved, and the earliest that the ballpark would open is 2028. So what are the A's to do for the next several years? Well, in April 2024, the team declared they would move to Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, home of the Giants' AAA affiliate, the River Cats. Moving from a 63,000 capacity stadium to a 14,000-seat minor league park is a drastic change, but with the team's average attendance in 2024 being just north of 6,000, maybe it won't be so bad. The Athletics plan on staying in Sacramento through 2027, leading up to their move to Vegas. Outside of the pandemic, it's extremely uncommon for a major league team to downsize by renting a minor league stadium. Questions have been raised about the team name and the location tied to it, and there's a chance the Athletics move forward without a city until they reach Las Vegas. Despite speculation of relocation for the past several years, no one expected this much drama to stem from the potential future of a historic franchise. In well over a century of existence, the Athletics are one of baseball's greatest ball clubs. Their 9 World Series titles are tied for the second most in American League history. Many legends of the game have spent time with the organization, the likes of Ty Cobb, Lefty Grove, Jimmy Fox, Reggie Jackson, Raleigh Fingers, Rickey Henderson, and Dennis Eckersley. Early 2000s cult heroes like Eric Chavez and Barry Zito, and even more recently, all-stars like Sonny Gray, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, and many more. The A's seem to once again be developing a bright future, led by Mason Miller, Shane Langoliers, and company. One can only hope that history doesn't repeat itself as they look their third relocation in the eyes. This has been the Baseball Time Machine. Thanks for traveling with us. We here at Baseball Time Machine appreciate you spending time with us. To celebrate our recent journey, crack these codes for a chance to win a mystery artifact. Safe travels!